Good day, class. Welcome to another edition of Class in Valley Secondary School online chemistry class. I'm Solomon, your online chemistry teacher. In our last lecture, we were discussing sulfur 4 oxide SO2, and here is the practice question of the last class, and here are the solutions to the practice question. Now, today we'll be talking about the tetrasulfate acid H2SO4, which is commonly known as the king of all acid. The king of all acid. Now, under the tetrasulfate, we're just going to do some introduction, talk about the contact process, which is how we prepare the tetrasulfate contact process. Now, after that, we'll talk about the physical property, its chemical property, and after that, some important uses of tetraoxosulfate acid. But before we talk about tetrasulfate acid, let's talk about the sulfur 6 oxide gas. Sulfur 6 oxide gas. Now, the sulfur 6 oxide gas is SO3. Now, the SO3 is also an acid anhydride, just like the SO2. Now, when SO2 dissolves in water, it produces H2SO3, that's hydrogen triazosulfate 4 acid. Hydrogen triazosulfate 4 acid, that is the triazosulfate 4 acid. But when SO3, that's sulfur 6 oxide, when it dissolves in water, it produces the tetraoxosulfate 6 acid, which is the H2SO4. So that's why it is important for us to discuss the SO3 gas, because it is an important constituent in the preparation of the tetraoxosulfate 6 acid. Now, the sulfur 6 oxide is an acid anhydride gas, as said before, which is prepared by reacting sulfur 4 oxide with oxygen in the presence of a catalyst under pressure and at a temperature of between 450 degrees Celsius to 500 degrees Celsius. Now, this is just saying that, we said that sulfur 6 oxide, sulfur 4 oxide is prepared by heating sulfur in oxygen. Now, in excess oxygen, sulfur 6 oxide will be formed from the sulfur 4 oxide. That means the sulfur will react with oxygen to form the sulfur 4 oxide. Then, if there is excess oxygen, then sulfur 6 oxide would be formed. Now, the catalyst used is the vanadium 5 oxide. The vanadium 5 oxide, which is V2O5. The vanadium 5 oxide is the catalyst used. And please consider the pressure. Under pressure are not at the temperature of 450 degrees Celsius, between 450 degrees Celsius and 500 degrees Celsius. Now, the properties of the sulfur 6 oxide gas is charged with water to form the tetrasulfate 6 acid, I said it before, and it also reacts with concentrated tetrasulfate 6 acid to form oleum. Now, oleum is H2S2O7. That's the chemical formula for oleum. That's the chemical formula for oleum. H2S2O7. Now, also, the sulfur 6 oxide also reacts with base and alkali to form the tetraoxosulfate 6 salt. Now, for example, sodium hydroxide reacting with the SO3 gas to form the sodium tetraoxosulfate 6 salt. But when it is SO2, sodium triazosulfate 4 salt will be formed. Please, let's take note of that. And also, water molecule is also formed in the process, which shows you that the process is a neutralization process. It's a neutralization process. Now, let's go to the tetraoxosulfate 6 acid. Now, the tetraoxosulfate 6 acid is the most important chemical compound known. The most important chemical compound known, and it is commonly used in the laboratory, and almost every manufacturing process make use of this acid directly or directly. Almost all chemical reaction make use of this acid. Now, for example, in the production of chlorine, we use it as a reducing agent, as a drying agent, sorry, we use it as a drying agent for drying the gas. Also, we use the tetrasulfuric acid as a dehydrating agent. We use it in a lot of reactions. It's either it serves as the it serves as part of the reactant, or it serves as a drying agent, or it is used to acidify an oxidizing agent. That's what we use the tetrasulfuric acid to do. So it is an important compound in chemistry. Now, preparation. Now, the tetrasulfuric acid is prepared by what we call the contact process. The contact process. The contact process. Now, the main reaction in this process is the catalytic combination of sulfur 4 oxide and oxygen to form the sulfur 6 oxide. Now, please take note that this should be sulfur 6 oxide. Sulfur 6 oxide, that is SO3. Now, this is sulfur 4 oxide. This should be sulfur 6 oxide. Now, the sulfur 4 oxide is prepared by burning of sulfur in air. We know this. And I've talked about the preparation of sulfur 6 oxide before. And the gaseous mixture is then passed through concentrated tetrasulfuric to be dried. Now, we wanted to produce the tetrasulfuric acid. Now, this shows you that it is an important compound in chemistry. We wanted to produce the tetrasulfuric acid, then we are still using it to dry the sulfur 4 oxide produced, because we want to produce more. We wanted to produce more tetrasulfuric acid. We are now using the little that we have to dry this gas, because if the gas produced are not dried, the other compound associated with the gas, for example, if there's any water molecule or any impurity present with this gas, with the SO2 gas, it will interfere with the chemistry of the reaction. Thereby, we might not get our desired product. That is why it is important to dry every gas. Even though you need it pure, it is required you dry every gas you produce in the laboratory, if you know you need it pure. Now, after drying, it is then delivered to the reaction chamber, or what we call the contact tower. Now, in this chamber, the sulfur 6 oxide combines with oxygen. The sulfur 4 oxide, sorry, combines with oxygen in the presence of catalyst, which is vanadium 5 oxide, which I said is V2O5. The vanadium 5 oxide, V2O5, to yield sulfur 6 oxide. And this process is done at a very high temperature of 450 to 500 degrees Celsius. Now, you see that this just the way it's just similar to what I have said about the preparation of sulfur 6 oxide. So then after that, the sulfur 6 oxide is cooled and passed into an absorption tower, where it is dissolved in concentrated tetrasulfuric acid to produce a thick liquid called oleum. Now, the reaction in preparing the sulfur 6 oxide in the contact process is also the same thing we do in the preparation of this when we want to prepare the sulfur 6 oxide normally, industrially. In the industrial preparation of sulfur 6 oxide, even the preparation of sulfur 6 oxide takes place in what we call the contact tower normally. Now, when we produce sulfur 6 oxide, that means when most industries produce sulfur 6 oxide, that means they are concerned about the production of the tetrasulfuric acid. They don't just produce sulfur 6 oxide like that, because it has few uses. But when they are producing it at a larger scale, that means the industry is targeting the production of tetraoxosulfuric acid. Now, the sulfur 6 oxide will dissolve is then dissolved in the concentrated tetrasulfate 6 acid to produce a thick liquid called oleum. Now, the reason why we don't dissolve the sulfur 6 oxide directly in water because a lot of heat is involved during this process and can cause the acid to boil. Now, I told you before in the properties of sulfur 6 oxide that it is an acid anhydride, which means when it dissolves in water, it will produce an acid. And I said when sulfur 6 oxide dissolves in water, it produces the tetraoxosulfate 6 acid, right? It produces the tetraoxosulfate 6 acid. Now you know how corrosive you would have been hearing it from your SS1 since when you started doing chemistry that the most dangerous acid that you can have in the laboratory is actually the H2SO4, the tetrasulfate 6 acid. Yeah, but actually hydrogen fluoride is more corrosive than the tetrasulfate 6 acid, but we don't really have it that one readily in the lab, but we have most lab have the tetrasulfate 6 acid. That's why it is considered the king of all chemicals because it is used widely in the laboratory and also industrially. And and the way it burns in its concentrated form, once it can touch anybody, the skin of once it can come in contact with any organic matter, it will burn the organic matter down. It will dehydrate it. It will absorb all form of water molecule. Now imagine when we are now producing the sulfur 6 oxide, they said in a contact process, in a contact tower, that means a lot the contact tower is just like a combustion tower. So a lot of heat is coming out together with the sulfur 6 oxide produced. Now when the sulfur 6 oxide is now when you now pour when you now direct it directly inside water and with the heat coming with it, this can cause the acid to boil. And when the acid can boil, the dis flames coming from the acid that is boiling can even cause dehydration when it comes in contact with any organic matter, or it can even cause it can even react with any surrounding metal, anything, it can react with anything at that point because it is coming from the concentrated form of the acid. It's coming from the concentrated form of the acid. So even the flame coming out from the acid after it is boiling is even dangerous. So you can see how dangerous the tetrasulfate 6 acid is. The tetrasulfate 6 acid is. So that's why they tell you don't play with the acid. They tell you don't play with the acid. If you have ever seen any chemistry teacher handling the tetrasulfate 6 acid, you see the way they handle it. They handle it care, with care, 100% care. They are conscious of every little mistake. You will see them with water beside them. That once the acid should just touch them like this, they put their hand inside water just to prevent it because the reaction with the acid is very fast. It's very, very fast. And once you don't take care of it very fast, once you come in contact with the acid and you don't take care of that part of your body that come in contact with that acid, oh, the acid will keep dehydrating the body till it does that completely to the whole skin if not taken care of. So producing mist of acid droplet which will spread around, and when it comes in contact with anything, as I said, it can cause a lot of damage. Now this SO3 reacting with H2SO4 to form what we call the oleum H2S2O7. Now the oleum is then diluted with approximate amount of water to produce the 98% tetrasulfate 6 acid used in the laboratory. So this the oleum reacting with water to produce a dilute form of the acid. Now this is just what we talk, this is the whole of the contact process. You can see the sulfur being produced, then it's passed, the sulfur 4Z produced, and it's passed to the contact tower. You can see the SO3 being produced. Then this is where the oleum is formed. Then water is added through this process. Then the concentrated tetrasulfuric acid is formed. Now, so the physical property of the tetraoxosulfate acid. Now, concentrated tetraoxosulfate acid is often called oil of vitriol, and it is a colorless viscous liquid with a density of 1.84 gram per centimeter cube. 1.84 gram per centimeter cube. Now, it is very corrosive and causes several burns if it comes in contact with the skin. If it comes in contact with the skin. Now, concentrated tetrasulfuric acid has a great affinity for water, therefore involving a large amount of it as it dissolves in water. It involves a large amount of it. That means the dissolution of the tetrasulfuric acid, the concentrated form, is exothermic. It is exothermic. Now, the heat involved is as a result of the hydration of the tetraoxosulfate 6 ions. It should be the tetraoxosulfate 6 ions. The tetraoxosulfate 6 ions. Please take note, tetraoxosulfate 6 ions. Now, this concentrated acid is also hygroscopic. It is hygroscopic. That means it absorbs water vapor from the surroundings and become more dilute in the process, but it does not turn into a solution. Whether it is already in its aqueous form already. So when it absorbs more water, it just becomes more dilute. But if it is a solid that is hygroscopic, a solid will absorb the water vapor from the surroundings and then becomes wet, but it will not turn to a solution. It will not turn into a solution. It will only turn into a solution if it is deliquescent. If it is deliquescent. Okay, let's take note of that. Now, chemical property of the acid. Reactions as an acid. Now, dilute tetrasulfuric acid is a strong dilute acid which ionizes in two stages, showing that it is a what? Dibasic acid. Now, the first property we are going to talk about is reaction with metal. Now, dilute tetrasulfuric acid reacts with metals which are more electropositive than hydrogen to liberate hydrogen gas and form the tetraoxosulfate 6 salt. Now, for example, zinc reacting with the acid to liberate hydrogen gas and forming the zinc tetraoxosulfate 6. The zinc tetraoxosulfate 6. Now, reaction with triazocarbonate 4. Dilute tetrasulfuric acid reacts with triazocarbonate 4 to liberate the carbon dioxide gas, which is the carbon 4 oxide gas, CO2. Now, this is the acid reacting with copper triazocarbonate 4, forming the copper 2 tetrasulfate 6. This should be CuSO4. CuSO4. This should be CuSO4. Then H2O is formed and also CO2 is being liberated. CO2 is being liberated. Please take note. This should be CuSO4. Now, reaction with bases. Dilute tetrasulfuric acid reacts with bases to form salt and water. Now, this is the acid reacting with MgO to form the MgSO4 plus some water molecule, right? So, since the acid is dibasic, now let's talk about how it reacts with alkalis. Now, since the acid is dibasic, when it dissolves in water, it undergoes its first ionization. That means the first hydrogen is being ionized. Then the first hydrogen will react with the alkali to form what we call the NaHSO4. Now, the first ion H2SO4, please take note, H2SO4. The first hydrogen is the one that will first react with the OH in the OH in from the alkali to form the first water molecule. Now you know that neutralization is when acid reacts with base to form salt and water. Now when you are writing an ionic equation for neutralization process, you just write the hydrogen ion from the acid reacting with the hydroxide ion from the base or from the alkali to form the water molecule. That's when you are when you are writing the ionic equation for a neutralization process. Write the hydrogen ion from the acid, the hydroxide ion from the base, and you give water as the product formed. Now, so the first hydrogen ion here will react with this hydroxide ion to form this water molecule. Then the sodium and the remaining hydrogen ion and the tetrasulfate 6 ion will form the NaHSO4. Now this is an acidic salt. This is an acidic salt. I know you would have talked about acidic salt when you are talking about acid base and salt in SS1. So I want you guys to revise it very well in order to be able to understand this concept that we are talking about here, because you have to understand the concept of ionization of acid in water. Now, as we all know from our lesson that an acidic salt can still react with a base or an alkaline to form a normal salt. So this will then react with the excess sodium hydroxide to form the sodium tetrasulfate 6 salt. Now this should be NaHSO4. The NaHSO4 should be here and not okay. The NaHSO4 will react with the excess sodium hydroxide to produce this, but this is just the overall of the reaction. This is the overall reaction. This is the overall equation of the reaction. The overall equation of the reaction. Please take note. The NaHSO4 should react with the excess sodium hydroxide to give you this and water molecule. Now the overall reaction will give you this. The concentrated tetrasulfate 6 acid will react with 2 moles of sodium hydroxide to neutralize it completely. 2 moles of sodium hydroxide would neutralize 1 mole of hydrogen tetrasulfate 6 acid completely. It will take 2 moles of sodium hydroxide to neutralize 1 mole of the tetrasulfate 6 acid, whether dilute or concentrated. Now please take note of that. Now this is just the first part of the ionization process. So I want you guys to revise your knowledge on acid, base and salt in order to understand the concept of what is here. Now, as an oxidizing agent, tetrasulfate 6 acid oxidizes hydrogen sulfide to sulfur while it is being reduced to sulfur 4 oxide. Now we've discussed this many times under the chemical properties of hydrogen sulfide. And also the acid also reacts with carbon to form the carbon 4 oxide, which is carbon dioxide, while the acid is being reduced to sulfur 4 oxide. Now please take note, when sulfur 4 oxide is oxidized, it is oxidized to hydrogen tetrasulfate 6 acid. But when hydrogen tetrasulfate 6 acid is reduced, it is reduced to sulfur 4 oxide. Now hydrogen tetrasulfate 6 acid is an oxidizing agent, but sulfur 4 oxide is a reducing agent. Please take note of that. Now, concentrated tetrasulfate 6 acid, the tetrasulfate 6 acid, whether concentrated or not, most of the time we use it as a dehydrating agent. We use the concentrated form of the acid as a dehydrating agent. Every time we use it as a dehydrating agent. Now, when concentrated tetrasulfate 6 acid behaves as a dehydrating agent, this means it removes water molecule from compounds like sugar and ethanol to form the sugar charcoal and ethene respectively. Now you can see from here, this is an example of sugar. reacting with the acid to form carbon, which is a form of to form charcoal, which is a form of carbon, right? Now, displacement of other acid from their salt. Now, concentrated tetrasulfuric acid is able to displace volatile acid from their salt. For example, the HCl, the HNO3 acid, the HNO3, the HCl and HNO3 can be prepared by the displacement reaction of the H2SO4 from their salt. Now, this potassium chloride reacting with the concentrated tetrasulfuric acid to form the KHSO4. This is an incomplete reaction because we can still have an acidic salt here plus what? The hydrogen chloride gas, which can be dissolved in water to form the hydrochloric acid. Now, before we talk about this part of the tetrasulfuric acid, I want us to mention another thing, which is hydrogen, the important of hydrogen, the concentrated tetrasulfuric acid as a drying agent. Now, what is drying? What is the drying process all about? And the drying process is just absorption of water molecules, from compounds produced in the lab. And most of the time we do it mostly for gases, not only water molecule, but absorption of other unwanted products associated with the gas we are producing. Now, please take note, the whenever we are drying, the process is different from whenever we are dehydrating. When we dry, the chemical nature of the chemical compound formed, the nature of the chemical compound, for example, when we are producing chlorine, right? Now, after drying, the chemical property of chlorine does not change from the initial property of chlorine, unlike when we are dehydrating. Now, when we dehydrate, that is a chemical reaction, that is a chemical change. Dehydration is an example of a chemical change, but drying is not an example of a chemical change, because when you remove the unwanted gases, you can actually take it back to the reaction to have the unwanted gases you have with the gas you produced before. So drying is not a chemical change, but dehydration is a chemical change, because the chemical nature of the compound we formed initially has been changed after we dehydrate the reaction, after we dehydrate the compound. So dehydration is a chemical change, but drying is not a chemical change. Now, drying does not change the chemical composition or the chemical property of the product, but dehydration does. Now, you can see from this place, the sugar has been changed to carbon. Now, the chemical property of carbon is actually different from that of sugar. It's different from that of sugar. Now, exists this exists as this react with this react with iron oxide to form CO2, but this cannot react with iron oxide to form CO2. Please take note of that. So the chemical property of a compound will change upon dehydration. That means after dehydration, you won't have the same chemical compound you have initially. But drying does not affect it at all. It does not affect the nature, it does not affect the property of the chemical compound we are talking about. But dehydration does. Drying does not affect the chemical property or the chemical compound we are talking about, but dehydration does. Dehydration is a chemical change. It's an example of a chemical change, but drying is not an example of a chemical change, because the major characteristics of a chemical change is that a new product is formed which is not correct for drying. In drying, a new product is not formed, but in dehydration, a new product is formed. So dehydration is a chemical change, while drying is not a chemical change. Now, uses of tetrasulfate acid. The tetrasulfate acid is used for the manufacturing of fertilizers, and it's also used in the manufacturing of pigments for paint. It is also used for the manufacturing of pigment for paint, and it's also used to clean metal prior before electroplating. Now, this is where we'll stop today in our class. I want you guys to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel, and you can contact us by visiting our website at www.scholarsuniversalschools.com, or you can call or message 0033942989. You can send a normal message or a WhatsApp message, or you can just give it a call. Thank you for watching this edition of Scholars Universal Secondary School online chemistry class. Hope to meet you again in the next edition, which will be our last class under the under sulfur, and probably the last class of the term. Thank you once again. See you in the next class.